Hey and welcome, Kim here with the Just Ask Kim Marketing Roundup and lots of cool stuff going on. Let's jump in right away and get started. Today we've got a number of things on the docket, and one of the places we can start with is Pinterest. Now you may have realized that about 60 days ago, give or take, Pinterest launched a new layout, a new look. And if you've opted into this, you've got it as your default look. It's pretty cool. However, it's not been greeted with the applause I think that they expected right away. But in their favor, they have spent some time tweaking it, and if you originally had a look at it, it's definitely worth having another go at. It's a great post over on Social Media Examiner that talks more about this layout. Now, if you've already got the new layout, then Pinterest launching new data cards, kind of the hover card concept that Twitter had, will be of interest to you. Pinterest has partnered with a number of data source companies, including stores, publications, and movie databases, and is using that to provide contextual information about the article being shared. And so what you may have is, if it's an article of a cake, you may have what we would think of as schema information, including a star rating on that cake and potentially a recipe. If it's a movie, you might have in the hover cards, you might have information about who's in the cast and probably information on where you can buy the movie. A number of this type of integration, making the site actually more useful rather than just inspirational. And this is really a neat approach. And we've seen a lot of the work with the hover cards. Whether they'll stay with the hover concept simply because hover doesn't generally tend to play well with mobile will be interesting to see. But speaking of mobile, they've made some mobile improvements. Their mobile app is starting to catch up. It's always really lagged behind, but at the moment they're working hard to attempt to get mobile to make sense. For Pinterest to have mobile make sense is very hard, because you tend to pin from websites that are not within Pinterest. Pinterest isn't really a surfing platform as much as it is a curation platform, so coming from other sites and sharing stuff into it. And the problem is that you can't live in the Pinterest app and still easily surf the rest of the web and pin stuff using your favorite browser, because things just don't work that way in mobile. So there's a lot of work that Pinterest still has yet to do. They've made some changes to help improve that. It's still pretty rough. If they want to dominate the mobile playing space, they're gonna have to figure that out. And so that's something they're gonna have to keep an eye on. Now, speaking of keeping an eye on, here's a word of warning for you. Snapchat, that application best known for allowing you to send an image to your friend that only lives a number of seconds and then is poof, gone, doesn't actually tend to get rid of its files. And it turns out that this app is using a little data marker that causes the operating system not to directly show these files, but that they still live on the hardware. And that means that these images can very easily be pulled from the hardware, not only for legal investigative type use, but also for abuse, maluse, etc. We have to understand, at least at this time, that these files are not gone. They're very much there, and it's a known security risk, or a known, not really a security risk, because you took them. You know they're there. You know they were sent. You know they could be screen captured on the other side. But the very fact that these images hang around after they shouldn't be is just one more layer of concern that really needs to be addressed when it comes to what content you're sending across Snapchat. Be aware of that. Speaking of images getting malused and abused, there's a great article called The Ugly Side of Social Media Sharing. And here's something I'm unfortunately seeing too much of. An individual posted a picture of her sons and the neighborhood boys on the stoop, the porch of her house, and they were all playing on their tablets. Well, she posted this, and it was posted privately to friends. A couple people asked her if they could reshare it. She said, cool. They reshared it. It was no big deal at that point. That was all well, fine, and dandy until someone's boyfriend discovered the picture, thought it was amusing, decided he'd do a little mock-up. He partnered it with another image of kids, you know, playing in the 80s, playing in the 90s on a playground set. And those kids, as the kids today, took the image and released it to somewhere on Reddit, one of the upload sites, and let it into the wild. And the problem is that this image had the faces and the identifiable, you know, likeness of her kids. This was never an image that was supposed to have gone where it went. It was never intended to be used like it was used, and it's actively violating the privacy of children. And so it's not just actively violating somebody's privacy, but there's kids involved. And unfortunately, this happens all the time. The privacy filters she was using, you know, once it was reshared out, it didn't matter. And it quickly got into the wild, and people didn't stop to ask, were they allowed to reuse this? And so I want to really caution you that when you're resharing stuff, be sure you've got permission to share it where it's going, and be sure you've got permission to use it in the manner you're going to use it. Now, the man in the middle who did the mock-up and who uploaded it to Reddit is technically the one at fault, because he did the, you know, the artistic stuff and shoved it up to another platform. But at that point, it had already been shared to a degree that he was honestly not sure that it hadn't been meant to be in the public, you know, because it had been reshared with a public privacy by the person who shared it with him. And so he made what one could consider to be an honest mistake. But was the first honest mistake actually, you know, where did that honest mistake start? Was it the fact that she uploaded it in the first place? Well, one would hope one could safely upload pictures of their kids to Facebook, but that may not necessarily be the case. Unfortunately, this is often a case of faulting the victim, and we often tend to find people who will blatantly fault the original uploader, in this case the parent, for uploading the image. Well, this is not a game of, you know, faulting the victim here. Don't play that game. Yes, we would like the idea that, you know, if you don't want it online, don't put it online in the first place. But at the same time, social media sites and where we're going with social and where we're going with where we live today is in the digital space. And if privacy is to have some semblance of existence, yes, I know it doesn't really exist, but if it's to have some semblance, we really need to attempt to find ways to make those filters actually work and to make those filters, you know, keep some kind of control of stuff. Just doesn't always work. So I want you to be aware of the stuff you upload, and I want you to be aware of the stuff that you reshare, and make sure that it's sensible that it's floating around where it's floating, particularly when it involves pictures of kids. Now, been off on a tangent there. There's a lot of other stuff going on today. The big one in the news today is that Yahoo is buying Tumblr. Now, Tumblr is a blogging platform with a very active community that has a very strong growth curve. It's a company with a growth curve that's almost as fast as WordPress, and not quite as strong, but really, really up there. Tumblr has a very strong community and a lot of social media footprint. It's very easy to chalk Tumblr off because a lot of the blogs are non-professional, but that should not rule out the fact that there's a very strong community there. And Yahoo placed an offer, and it was accepted for $1.1 billion. It's just slightly more than was paid for Instagram, but at the same time, that platform has a larger user base and a larger social media footprint and things, and it's less of a speculative purchase, which Instagram was, than it is buying a content creation engine and buying the content creators. Now, a lot of people are scared. A lot of fear at the moment, the same way we saw fear when Facebook bought Instagram. What's going to happen? What's going to be its use? Well, Tumblr suffered GeoCities' fate. The fate of GeoCities, which was a website platform, kind of, you can think of kind of a website version of WordPress.com or a website version of Blogger, where everybody could have their own website. GeoCities was massive, and Yahoo purchased this and got involved, and then they reached a point where they didn't want to upkeep it, and then they flat out shuttered it with no attempt to help the community export, no attempt to do the things they should do for the community. thousands and thousands and thousands of blogs lost, or websites lost in the process. A very, very disgusting thing for many content creators on the web. And then Yahoo turned around and did it again with Delicious. They bought Delicious, brought it in. Soon it became abandonware. They didn't take care of it, and then they made attempts to shutter it. Now it still lurks around in its, little lurkdom, but it is gone from its prime, and it fell at the hands of Yahoo. And so for Yahoo to buy Tumblr is a very scary thing for most Tumblr users. It's a very scary thing, in fact, for some techs, because everybody's looking at this with a lot of concern. Now, everybody is aware of that concern, all the way to the degree of Yahoo's CEO, and a lot of arrangements have been made for Tumblr to continue to be independently operated, and for the founder to continue to be the primary grower, and he's been brought on team in Yahoo, and things of that nature. But it really is summed up best in the press release that Yahoo released, where it simply had the company name at the top, and the next line, right before it gets into the whole body, says, "We promise not to screw it up." Now that might be a little paraphrase, but it pretty much was very accurate. That really was the words. We promise not to screw it up. And if you're coming into it with that much flack, you're going to have a long, hard road to really get people comfortable and to really not have jumping a ship. And jumping a ship is definitely what is started. WordPress had a massive influx of blogs just almost immediately after this press release. They tend to have an import around 400 to 600 posts per day, and in the hour preceding the announcement, there were 72,000, I believe, that's a rough number. There were 72,000 approximately blog posts imported into WordPress in that time, and that only counts WordPress.com blogs. That doesn't actually tell us what was pulled into WordPress.org, and that is a massive influx. Now, it's not massive in terms of the pure scope of how many blogs are on WordPress or how many blogs are on Tumblr, but just in getting a sense of the feel of the community is starting to jump, that people are uncertain enough that they're willing to get their content out of there, and they're ready to do it right now. And is some of that too soon to say? Sure is. But at the same time, owning your content is never a bad deal. As a WordPress.org user, you understand that owning your content is the only safety net you have out here. And so many people question whether WordPress will be next. Could WordPress be the next Tumblr? Could this fall the same way? Could we lose WordPress to the same buyouts that have affected things like Instagram and Delicious and GeoCities and now Tumblr and all that? Could we lose WordPress in that? And the answer is not likely. WordPress is really founded on a whole different set of principles, including the open source community, and has a leader behind it that consistently has his heart in the right place with the community. And there's a great post over on The Guardian that talks about why WordPress probably is not next. Why WordPress is very critical to the technical community and very critical to the social media community, and why we need to make sure that we take care of this platform and we look after this platform and we do the things involved as a community to really look after and nurture it, because it does provide that central resource that really cannot easily be taken away from us. And that's really something that you should have some respect for, and you should have some love and some gratitude and some appreciation for, because there's a lot that goes into that, and we as the community make up the backbone of that, and it's important that we give back to that community in the same way. Now, speaking of Yahoo, at the same time, Yahoo made a second major announcement, and that was some changes with Flickr. They've done two things with Flickr, and that is that they have moved the pricing table. They've done away with their original Pro version, and now all users get 1 terabyte of storage space and can easily upload high-resolution photos. That's a lot of storage space. And with the ease for high-res photos, that really encourages these photo bloggers to get in there and really take massive advantage of it. Heck, who wants to pay for, the Google storage to work within the changes that Google just made to their photo platform, when one can use Flickr and have all that storage available and have it pretty deeply integrated and have some of the advantages of what Flickr has going on? Well, there are advantages to the Google Plus platform, but you're going to keep an eye on your data use since you've got Flickr available to you. So it becomes becomes one of these, where the race to the bottom, the race to how quickly can we move the free line? How far can we push it? How much do we want? What are we going to gain by moving the free line? And Yahoo is going to move ad serve. Yahoo is going to gain the ability to serve ads on the pages of all these photos and all these users. And that's something that's some revenue that Yahoo badly needs at the moment. And so they're, taking one for the team in terms of sacrificing the cost that goes into hard drive space and goes into those pro accounts in order to get more ad serve. Now, the other thing that they've done in terms of pricing is they've still remained 2 tiers. For ad haters, if you happen to not like the ads, you can upgrade for about $50 a year to get rid of ads. And if you'd like to move from 1 terabyte to 2 terabyte, if you're a power user of that nature, the upgrade cost per year is a sweet $500. Okay, not quite short by a penny, but 500 buckaroos to move from 1 terabyte to 2 terabyte. Seems to me I'd be keeping an eye on keeping under that terabyte. Maybe not true for some power users, but I definitely think that most people are going to shy away from that $500 price point. That's pretty steep. All right, there's been a lot in the news. Let me know what you think. We got Yahoo, we got Flickr, we got Tumblr, and of course the drama and craziness with Snapchat that can't seem to actually delete stuff. So let me know what you think. Leave a comment in the box below or stop by iTunes, visit the podcast, and leave me a review there. I look forward to seeing you, and we'll talk soon. This has been Just Ask Kim with your Marketing Roundup.